I'm going to show you how to use the overlock machine to make an infinity scarf. Now, I had the pattern and the instructions that I handed out, but I did promise you a video so that you could see the techniques a little more slowly and you could watch them at your own leisure. So we're going to make the infinity scarf, but first we need to thread the machine. So I'm going to thread the machine for a 3-thread overlock. Okay, I'm using the clear foot right here because actually the clear foot is one of my favorite feet because you can see through it. But it's basically a general purpose foot. You'll notice that it has lines right here, and actually they come clear, and I have just taken a Sharpie marker to make them more visible. So in order to put the foot on, here is the ankle, and there is a little like upside down C, and you match that up with the pin and lower the presser foot, and now my foot is attached. Okay, and next I'm going to go ahead and thread the loopers, and I have two loopers. I have an upper looper and a lower looper, and they're sort of like knitting machines. They sort of come around and knit at the edge of a piece of fabric. So first I'm going to thread the lower looper, but it does not matter what order you thread this machine. So for this one I'm going to push the little button right here and turn the hand wheel towards you until you hear it click into place. I think you heard that. So I'm going to come straight up, and if you look at your machine on the very tops of it, it'll say chain looper, lower looper, upper looper, and anything dealing with a chain or cover stitch is going to be written in gold. If it's written in green, that's dealing with the overlock section. So we're going to do overlock. So it comes straight up into the thread guide. There is a thread guide on the back. Okay, here's the thread guide. So I'm going to take my hands on either side of it and hold it like dental floss and click it into place. And it's caught in this spring. On this machine, then I'm going to take about 18 inches of thread. In other words, put the end of the thread into my lap. And I have 3 ports. I have an upper looper, a lower looper, and a chain port. So I want the upper looper. So you take your thread about a ½ inch away. You want to hold no more than that. And put that right into the looper hole, the port. I'm going to put this on L and press down, and my thread has come up into the looper. If you have the Extraordinaire, which is the Evolution, the Enlighten, or the Ovation, instead of pressing the pump down, you have an electric motor, so you just push the motor and it shoots the thread through. You do not have to put the thread under the needle. You can just let it stay down here. However, that puts me into cold sweats, and actually you can just leave it there, but that bothers me. So the trick for me to getting this thread under the foot is to raise my presser foot, put the thread across, go to the left of the blade, which is right here, and then it goes under the needle. Goes as easy as pie. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is the upper looper. Again, I'm putting it straight up into this number 2 port right here, and then into the upper looper. So I take about 18 inches of thread. In other words, I'm going to put this thread down in my lap to give me a good 18 inches of thread. And put this on upper for the Imagine, the Eclipse, and the older model Evolves. Okay, now it's come through. Again, go to the left of the needle and the blade, and that's out of my way. Then I want to do the right needle, and I'm not going to use this left needle, so I'm going to remove the thread from the tray. Okay, and then I'm going to put this into the third from the right. Now this time I'm going to go into the needle, so come down, across, up, around, behind the thread guide. Now I'm going to thread the needle. Now the 8 needle machines do not have a built-in needle thread, or the 4 threads do, but this one the Evolve Wave, the Evolution, and the Ovation do not have an automatic needle threader, but it comes with this handy dandy tool. So if you take this tool and you look for the little, looks like a little triangle on the top, leave that on the top. Take your thread and go perpendicular to it. Then you take that and gently start at the top of the needle. Slowly work it down. Do not push. You're going to bend the needle threader. And then push through. And see, now it's pulled the loop through. So I will pull that loop through. And now I'm ready to sew. Okay. My settings, because you need to set, notice this has no tensions at all. There are no tension dials over here. Instead, it has steel plates that are inside these grooves that literally pull it. They go back and forth and they pull a distance of thread based on one of 4 formulas. I'm going to be using a 3-thread narrow overlock, so therefore it's a right needle, and therefore I'm going to put my stitch selector on B. I'm going to release my threading tubes. This lever right here, I push it to the right. If you have if you have the Evolution, the Enlighten, or the Ovation, instead you have a dial that you push. It'll either say threading or serging. So you would put that on serging. Okay, my settings, these dials here, I want this for, I'm going to just put that on M, which this is the width of your blade. Here's my cutting blade right here. As I turn this knob, watch that cutting blade go back and forth. So it makes it wider or narrower. But I want this on M. This large dial, if you think of this large dial as your stitch length, and you have 2 settings. It stays either standard or rolled, and I want it on standard, and I want my stitch length between 2 and 3. I'm going to shut my doors, and I'm ready to go. Okay. To make the infinity scarf, I have cut a length of fabric about 60 inches wide. In other words, from selvage to selvage. If you have 60-inch wide fabric, then you just cut it selvage to selvage, and then I want the length to be about 18 to 20 inches. I have used Wonder Clips in order to hold my fabric together, but it's not always necessary to do that. Now I put my fabric right sides together. And now first I'm going to show you my method, and I'm going to start about 3 inches from the edge of my fabric. So I'm going to raise my presser foot. And what I like about using Wonder Clips is it makes me remove them. If you don't have Wonder Clips and you want to use pins, if you use pins, you want to put it at least 1 inch away and put your pins parallel to the end. Let's try that again. Put it parallel to the seam. You do not want to put your pins in this way, because guess what you're going to end up doing? You're going to end up running your blade over top of these pins and ruining a blade. And those blades are about 20 bucks each, so you do not. And there's 2 blades. You don't want to run over them. That's an expensive mistake. So I'm going to start about 2 inches in. My blade is engaged. And I'm just going to simply stitch. What I like is I have to remove the clip. It won't go any further. And I'm going to sew all the way to the other end. Well, one thing I forgot to mention is I want my differential feed at neutral. Unless I'm getting stretching or puckering, then I may need to adjust that differential feed. And I'm getting a nice smooth stitch. Well, actually, it's a tiny bit puckered, so I'm going to just click that down a little bit towards stretch. You have 2 icons here. You have this one over here, which shows something gathering, and you have this one down here shows something stretching. So if I'm getting gathering that I don't want, then I want to stretch it out. So I went down 1 click down, which is a 0.8 differential feed. Also notice that when I am serging, I always want to cut just a little bit. Your serger will work more efficiently if you allow it to trim just a little bit. And then I'm going to again stop about 2 inches away. Okay, I don't want, so I'm just going to raise this and just sew off. Okay. And see, I don't need a thick seam for this, so I have a nice narrow seam. So at this point you could press your seam open or press it flat. Okay. So I'm going to lay this on a table. So I've turned it right sides out. And I'm putting the seam at the top. I'm putting the seam right at the top here. So I'm going to twist it so that I can get my moebius effect. So what I do is I'm going to put this at the top, put my hand on it, fold it up, fold it under. And now I'm going to find this 2 seam and grab these 2 ends that are closest to me, slap them together, and yes, the slapping is important. Then I'm going to start to pin this. And again, I'm going to use my Wonder Clips. And I'm just going to pin this right sides together. You don't need too many of these Wonder Clips. Follow it around. And I'm going to pin this all the way around and then go back to the machine. One more clip. Okay, now we'll go back to the machine and I'm going to just sew in a circle this tubular part together and sew it around. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and sew this around. I'm going to sew that big tubular area. And so I just started at the beginning and I just pick a place as a guide. And I'm just going to start sewing and remove my clips as I go along. Make sure you don't catch it underneath here. And I'm going to sew all around this tube. I know it looks like I've sewn it before because I have. Reason I have to do it again is because I left the camera off. I thought it was on and it wasn't. So anyway, I can sew it again. It's no big deal. So I have sewn it all the way around. Okay, I have sewn it all the way around and I just simply open it up. And I have an opening here so I can press this under, press the opening closed, and I can either hand stitch it. I would just fold one end over and hand stitch it down, or take it to the machine and edge stitch it, or just fuse it together. And actually my scarf is done. See, and it has that wonderful twist in it. I could even double it over. It gives you a nice cowl effect. You can use any type of fabric as long as it's got a decent drape to it. You can use it. You can use some single knit, double knit, whatever you like. But I have another way. If you had attended our test drive this last weekend, my dear friend Joan Clemens, who's a Babylock educator and a dear friend for the last 15 years. In fact, she's the reason I'm even in this industry. She actually sold me my first sewing machine, and she was my very first quilt teacher. So she's now a Babylock educator, and she showed me an even easier way to do this scarf. So let's do that one. Now, if you would like written instructions on how to do the infinity scarf, you can send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com. I will be happy to send you the instructions in PDF format that will show you how to do the infinity scarf like we just did. Okay, now we're going to do the infinity scarf the other way, the way that Joan showed me to. So again, I took the same 60-inch wide fabric, about 18 inches of it, and I'm going to put it together, right sides together. And I'm going to clip it. I do like to clamp mine together because I find when I'm doing a long area like this, I have a tendency to stretch one of the fabrics. And I'm simply going to start by serging, starting one side and going all the way to the other. And I'm just using the edge of the bed of the machine as my guide. Okay. I take that back. You're not going to fold. You're not going to sew it from one edge to the other. I forgot to leave an opening. So what I want to do is leave an opening about just big enough for my hand to get through it. So I'm going to remove a few stitches. Maybe about 4 inches. When you're removing stitches from a serger, you can clip and cut everything for these cross pieces from till the cows come home, and it will never come open. So what you want to do is release the needle threads, because that's what's holding it together. And actually I'm going to and the needle threads go parallel, the looper threads go from side to side. So I'm simply going to remove this one thread. I just picked it out. I'll come down here. I didn't cut it. There we go. And see, now my threads fall away. That will make it a little easier to do it right. Okay. Okay, now that I have sewn my seam, I'm going to reach my hand inside. I'm going to put the seam at the top. And I'm going to hold that, put that single seam along my hand at the top. I'm going to grab this end, pull it through, hold on to that seam, don't let it loose, come to this side, and I could match up the seam. If I wanted just a straight scarf, tubular scarf, I would just simply sew this in the round. But I want to do a moebius twist to it. So I'm going to take a clip, or 2 clips, and mark the centers on the other side. So this would be opposite. So I have my clips on either side. Now what I want to do is twist and turn this inside one to match this side. I'm going to clip that together. Okay, there. Clip it together. And then come to this side, match up this clip to the seam, and I'll put a few more clips. There we go. And hold it nice and firm. A few more clips, because we're going to be working in the round, and so what I'm doing is I am just clipping it all the way around. like every 3 or 4 inches. I'm ready to sew it. I'm going to sew this in the round, and it's easier to sew it from the inside. The inside of the tube is facing you. So I'm going to raise my blade. I'm going to pull slack of thread a little bit, raise the presser foot, give me a slack of thread and pull those threads straight back so I can get this in there. I have a selvage to cut off right here, so I'm going to actually angle this blade in until my cutting is right here. Okay, so I'm going to just work from the inside of the tube like this. So it helps me to hold it straight. I'm going to remove the clips. As I come to them. And here's one seam. I think we already passed the other seam. Okay, remember I've got a little bit of a slant here, and that's okay. I'm going to stitch until it's all even, and then I'm going to raise my needles up, raise the presser foot, give me a little slack, and then sew it off. And see, couple little clips, and see, now it's sewn. Now what I have to do is pull it through. So I'm over here and I'm going to go find my opening, and put my hand inside and pull it out through the opening. Pull everything out through this opening. There. Again, I end up with the same thing. Now, I just have a small opening here that I have to either hand stitch or edge stitch, and my moebius scarf is finished. I could press it if I like, but see, now I've got a half twist to it. You can see the twist, and makes a lovely scarf. If you have any questions, you can email me at waltzquilt@yahoo.com or give us a call at Attic Treasures in Occoquan, Virginia at 703-490-1536. See you later.